Hi everyone, this is Susan. Welcome back to my channel. Today what I've got is part custom, part overall. It will be a combination of a whole bunch of different things to fill in this background on this cute, whimsical quilt for a child. I am working on the cutest little baby quilt. This was a pattern, but the maker said she changed a few things up and designed some of her own stuff. I don't know which one is which. So what I've done is stabilized around all the figures and put some quilting inside. I quilted around there, and I quilted the eyes, and let's see. Where is one? All right, where the figure meets the background fabric, I have quilted in the ditch. And I'll do a little bit of quilting inside some of the blocks. Some of the figures. I think this guy needs a little something in here. I don't know exactly what yet. I will put that on the back burner and come back to it later. In the meantime, one design decision we've made is that all the background quilting is all one background. So nothing too dense. And today I decided I'm going to do a flower meander with some other stuff, and let's just go for it and see what wants to happen. And so this is what I've got going so far. I like it. So let's continue on and see what we come up with. This quilt is 50 by 50 inches. The applique is fused, and there will be minimal quilting except for outlining and a few details here and there. So right off the bat, we have some decisions to make. Is all the background one background, or are all the blocks different? And the client opted for all one thing, which makes things a lot simpler than they would be otherwise. We've chosen to quilt with not exactly a white colored thread, it's an off-white. So when you're going for all one color thread, you have to decide, do I like that thread on all the backgrounds it's going to be on? And in this case, we sure did. The thread is kind of secondary. It doesn't show up or not show up. It's just, you see the line of quilting here. So the size and scale, the proportions here, what's dictating most of that right off the bat is the size of the applique. Since it's fused, it's not very drapey and bendy. It's, well, in a couple of places it's really stiff. So with such sparse quilting, doing anything really dense is just not going to make any kind of sense at all. The background quilting needs to be smaller than the applique it surrounds, but in this case, not very much smaller. That's not what we're going for here. It's not a show quilt, but it is a quilt that may get a lot of use. We don't know how much it'll be washed. So the quilting needs to be adequate to keep up with any potential washing or wear and tear. So super sparse quilting isn't suitable for this kind of a quilt. So I had thought in the beginning I would go for a flower meander, and that's pretty much what we do have here. You reserve the larger spaces for a full flower and smaller spaces for partials, and then to get from one to the other, you fill in with various little things. In this case, it'll be swirls and curls echoing, some arcs, just whatever it takes to navigate around all these different shapes. The mood here is going to be playful, whimsical, cute, informal. And this is a combination that I'm just kind of making up as I go along. Whatever strikes your fancy, that's what we do next. This kind of quilting is a lot of fun to do. And decisions come pretty quickly and in the moment. I would say this kind of quilting is better if you have a lot of experience under your belt, if you know a lot of freehand moves already. And that's how you get, instinctive experiential ideas to just pop right up. You'll instinctively know what to do in certain spaces. So this is where it helps to have a library of freehand flowers. It's nice to have a couple really different shapes to choose from, some smooth and rounded, others elongated and kind of spiky, to have a nice variety of things so it's not way too static. This quilting is pretty lively. It's going to call attention to itself, so you need to want to see it. It's not quiet. Way back in the beginning, 26 years ago, a colleague told me that my quilting was very wild, that it needed to be calmed down, that I needed calm quilting. And I'm happy I did not take her advice to heart. Your quilting is like your signature. It looks like you and not other people. It is lively. I think it implies a whole lot of movement, and I think that's a good thing. If a customer does not like your style of quilting, they can go find somebody whose quilting they like better. Someone whose quilting maybe is calm and serene. Now, right above the owl head, I tried to make that quilting a little bit symmetrical, and I kind of achieved it. I'm not really big on symmetry, but that sort of tactic kept happening over some of the figures, just because they are symmetrical. 2 ears, 2 eyes, that kind of thing. And if you're really into those kinds of effects, then maybe some stops and starts would happen a bit more often than you'd like. On this quilt, I found that I would stop and move to a different place if I wanted to change the direction that these flowers and motifs are going in. If I wanted to have some feathers going up the side of a creature, for example, that would be one reason to change directions. This goes pretty fast, and it's a whole lot of fun to do, and I got this done all in one day, which is nice. That's what we want out of a project like this. The reason you do an overall background is in part for speed. That said, it's not going to go perfectly. The bobbin's going to run out. You're going to be stuck for an idea, or something is going to come along and interrupt the flow, which is fine. In a way, this design scheme is a little bit custom because, right off the bat, just because I've outlined all the figures and then switched to this background, that's one part of custom. The other part is I can tailor the design to fit a given shape. I can make a design really big in this one section and make it smaller someplace else. So I can change it up as I need to. And I can make it up as I go along. That's inherent in this style of quilting. So I can make it as static and repetitive and the same as I want to, or make it as different and custom as I can. One of the things that began happening automatically on this quilt was kind of echoing these letters. That serves in part to get from point A to point B. And it just seemed like a natural thing to do. I think the best way to learn how to do this style of quilting is to learn by doing. Just get in there and try it out, and you'll see what's going to work and what's not going to work. You'll see what the limitations are, what you're free to do, what kind of wants to happen. It's an organic style of working, and it's a lot of fun. I recommend it. I think back in the beginning, I would start doing this kind of thing with just a few, like, a small handful of things I wanted to replicate. And then in time, that evolved into a little bit more complex collections of designs. I guess I would advise not doing everything you know how to do. Not the whole design library, just a few things will suffice. So for the rest of this section, I'm just echoing and filling in. There's another flower left to do, and then more echo, because there's not a whole lot of room left in this part. So it'll be good and satisfying to get that part done. So I'm just gonna be quiet for a minute. I'll be back here after a while with some more thoughts. So this is great fun until you run into a piece of fabric like this. It's a delightful print, but I can't see what I'm doing. So this is where, I don't know, I kind of hope it's going well and I'm not real sure. If you really need to see what you're doing on a piece of fabric like this, it's nice to have a light hitting the quilt from a whole different angle. On my old machine, I would just turn the light off on the machine. I don't have that option on this one, and this light is bright. So putting a lamp, off to the side or some kind of light that will put an angle on that part of the quilt is really helpful. Well, this is about all the cuteness I can pack into one little video. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I hope it's inspiring. And I'll see you next time with who knows what.